What's going on, everybody? It's the Daily Fantasy Hitman back at you with another League of Legends breakdown. We got 2 games out of the LCK and 2 games out of the LPL, so let's get into it. First game, we got Damwon Kia versus Leaf Sandbox, and this is a game of, what is it, the yin and the yang, right? So, Damwon's coming in here 5-1 with 10-4 game record, and Leaf Sandbox is literally the opposite. 1-5 record with 4-10 game record, right? So it's the same numbers. You just got to flip them. And that's not a good thing when you're talking about the first place team in the LCK going up against the 10th place team in the LCK, which there are only 10 teams in the LCK. So at this current moment, Liv Sandbox is worse than Fred at Brayon. So we need to account for that, okay? The odds are here minus 1,667. That's for a reason, okay? Anytime you see odds that big, this is going to be a 2-0, okay? I don't really need to talk about this much. Look at this. Early game rating, mid to late, horrible. I mean, third in combined kills per minute. It's going to be a stomp, right? Damwon Kia 2-0. We don't need to beat the dead horse here. It's over. Next game, let's go to Gen.G versus Nongshim Red Force. Now, Gen.G has looked a bit iffy as of late. They swapped Flawless into the jungle for 2 series, and then they decided they want Clid back. And that same time, they took BDD out for Karis. I'm not really sure what this team's going for. Now, it is still Gen.G, so don't assume that because of because of those recent struggles, I'd say don't assume that this team is now weak, because the team they're playing, Nongshim, is in 7th, okay? So they had a good series, Nongshim versus T1. They beat KT Rolster, but overall this team is not on the same level of Gen.G, okay? Now, they do have an avenue into this series, and that is if Gen.G continues to mess with this roster. If they have Karis in the mid lane, if they bring back Flawless in the jungle, things like that, then I could see Nongshim bringing this 1 to 3 games, potentially taking it. But because I just believe in the Gen.G players and their organization more at this current moment, I'm going to give Gen.G the 2-1 here. But, I mean, you look at things like mid to late game rating, they're very even. Okay, Gen.G does have that early game advantage, but I mean, if you're talking about BDD being swapped out for Karis, I don't know if that early game advantage is really as much as it looks, you know? So, look at this. Combined kills per minute times average game time. This is the 4th one on the slate, so this is probably going to be the slowest game and more macro-oriented game, so you're going to see a lot of dragons, you're going to see a lot of Baron takes, you're not going to see a whole ton of team fights, unless they just throw the book out the window and start, fighting each other for no reason. But I still hold Gen.G as a top 4 team in the LCK, and I don't think Nongshim is there yet. They have some solid pieces. Deokdam has looked insane in the ADC role. But Bay, I need to see more out of Bay. I need to see more out of Kellen. Peanut is great, but Rich as well. If they had a stronger support or they had a stronger mid lane, I would potentially give them the 2-1 here, but I'm going to give 2-1 to Gen.G here. I think it's going to be a closer series than people think. Now let's move over to the LPL. We got Thunder Talk Gaming taking on LGD, who has still yet to win a series. So why are these odds so close? Well, we saw Thunder Talk play last series against E-Star, and that was probably one of, if not the sloppiest series I've ever seen in my life. Thunder Talk Game 1 has a 4K gold lead. They decide to dive underneath the enemy tower, get aced. Now it's even. Now they're losing at one point. E-Star's pushing into their base. They decide, we don't have it yet. Thunder Talk wipes them. Then they end it. It was absolutely one of the worst series in terms of just sloppiness. That's what it really came down to, that series, sloppiness. Because, I mean, game 3, Thunder Talk was down 9 kills to 5 versus E-Star, and then they wipe E-Star twice in a row. But the thing that I really saw out of that series was resiliency. This is a really young roster. You got guys like Zhao Peng. You got guys like Chilizi. You got guys like Twilla. He's more of a veteran. Sam D and Teen. These guys are young, right? So the fact that a brand new team together, very young, has that type of resiliency in a series like that, something that you really want to weigh into, because that's going to matter a lot when you're facing off a team versus a team like LGD, who doesn't have that same sort of resiliency, I would say, as you can tell by the one singular game win. Now, we do have to give them some slack, or cut them some slack, because Kramer hasn't been in the ADC role the whole time. And he is a bit of a game changer, right? But here's the thing. They're making another swap at support with Peace coming out and Chance coming back in. And then they're making another swap in jungle with QI coming out and Flora coming in. Overall, I think LGD is the worst team in the LPL, and I am not going. Yeah, I don't think they have really a chance here, to be honest. ThunderTalk showed a lot of resiliency in their last series. Also, don't forget they're coming off a sweep over V5. I mean, do you think that? I guess the odds makers think that LGD and V5 are in the same boat, because I'm just not understanding how these odds are that close. Now, I could be completely wrong here, and Kramer could just carry this entire game, but I just don't see it. Kramer has not looked that great. It's a huge fall off, this team that he's playing with now compared to last split. I mean, he had Peanut in the jungle last split. He had Lang X in the top lane. He had GA in the mid lane. Like, this is such a drop off for Kramer. It's not even insane. And you could see it on his face. He just looks disappointed when he's playing the game. He just, oh, here we go again, TT, I still am going to hold my prediction that I think they could push for a top 10 spot in the LPL. No matter how crazy that sounds, I think they can do it. And they showed me some really, it's like I saw some really bad stuff in their last series, but I also saw some really good stuff. And you have to take both, and you got to weigh in on both. And I think the really good stuff, if they look back at the film and they really move on that, this is going to be an easy series for them. I'm actually going to give TT the 2-0 here. I think they could smash LGD, and I really don't think those odds should be that close. Now, let's move on to the last series here, EDG versus Suning. EDG, in my opinion, has looked like the best team in the LPL. They have yet to drop a series. They're rolling on a 9-game win streak. They have swept their last 4 opponents. I mean, this team is stomping. Of course, they don't have the V5 series in here, but JDG, LGD, ThunderTalk, not the best competition, but FPX 2-1, they're beating everybody they're playing. And the reason why is these veterans have came together and they're playing like a cohesive unit already, right? Flandre, GG he's solid. Scout, Viper, Mako, I mean, this team is nasty, right? And I saw something over their past 4 series, which was 8 games total because they swept all of them. Viper is holding a 40% kill share, which is absolutely nutty. Okay, so you're talking about Viper, probably one of the best ADCs in the LPL right now, going up against Huangfeng, who is a very solid ADC, very talented, but he's younger and he's more susceptible to this pressure, right? He thinks he can outplay it. Like, I'm not going to say he's a bad player, but I'm just going to say Viper is on another level right now, right? You could tell this by the early game right here. EDG's up by about 14 points, and they go mid to late, and they're up by about 25 points. Now, you could argue that Suning maybe has played a tougher schedule, I guess, but I'm just not buying it. Suning at 3-3, EDG at 6-0, and you're giving me these odds? Like, I'm taking EDG all day here, and if I could, I would take EDG 2-0. You know what I'm saying? I would put that down on a bet. Take EDG minus 1.5, right? So I think EDG is just gonna stomp here because of the veteranness of their lineup. I don't know if that's a word, but Yeah, and Suning, don't forget they're playing with on at support, and they lost Sword Art. Like that's a massive drop off, and you can tell. I mean, they're ninth place in the LPL, right? They were before like top five, top six. I think EDG's probably the best team in the LPL right now. I don't think Suning is. I'm gonna give EDG the 2-0 here. And to finish things off, let's just go back with a little recap. Damwon Kia, 2-0 over Live Sandbox. Gen.G, 2-1 over Nongshim, but remember, this series is close as could be. TT, I think I said 2-0, but I'm going to say 2-1 over LGD because, I mean, these are still some lower tier teams, so we can't assume that they're just going to come out there and, show us excellence yet. EDG versus Suning, I'm going to give EDG the 2-0 there because I do think we can say that about them. So, if you like what you heard, give me a subscription. We're looking for to hit that subscriber count so we could keep going with YouTube. And if you want to see my full DFS breakdown, I do a full matchup breakdown. I got that over at patreon.com/DFS Hitman. I'll put that in the description. Good luck, everybody, and let's get it.